to our farmer and the previous speakers. So today, this is the outlook of our policy brief on my left. And the photo there represents some of the experts during a dialogue meeting in Tanzania last year. But we are more. As I said, we are 15 of us from various organizations. So I'll just present to give the outline on what are the issues in the drylands. As we have already heard from the PS, is that it comprises of 75% of Kenya, 40 of Uganda, and 33 of Tanzania, which means it's quite a huge landmass for our region. It is also home to more than 70 million people who rely on agriculture and pastoralism. And it is good to qualify that they also depend on rain-fed island systems and livelihood sources. So it is very important for us to think about these fragile ecosystems, which are also very rich in biodiversity. The other thing that is happening in the drylands is that we have the climate change and environmental stress that is happening currently. We know that temperatures have risen for up to 1.5 to even 2 degrees in some areas, but it is also projected that by 2050, the temperatures in our drylands in East Africa may rise by additional 1.6 to 2.7 degrees Celsius under the current emission scenarios. So you can already see that if these places are this fragile and this exposed to these effects of climate change, then if we warm a little bit more, then what shall we have by 2050? So it is good for all of us to think about that. In Kenya, for example, and we have heard from the PS, is that we have had our times when we had like 5 consecutive failed rainfall seasons, which means it was the worst drought in 40 years. In Uganda, especially the Karamoja sub-region, and also in Tanzania, the central regions of Dodoma and Singida, research shows that they are regularly now facing 2 to 3 months of dry spell, which is longer than the usual they used to have before. And there is also the question on soil degradation and vegetation loss. Remember that these areas are also dependent on livestock, heavily dependent on livestock. Sometimes the carrying capacity of the livestock is quite high, therefore exposing these fragile ecosystems and exacerbating the soil degradation in these areas. These are some of the real photos taken from the field, and the question of the invasive species. I know some areas are grappling with hypomea, for example. We have the prosopis, we have the optunia, and also the lantana camara as part of the invasive species that really are taking over in the drylands. But also we have the soil erosion, as you can see in that photo. We have the impact on water security, where the seasonal rainfall, the seasonal rivers and groundwater sources are drying up. Women and girls are traveling far to get water. And this also becomes a base for insecurity or conflict, and also forced human migration. So we have a reason to think about these areas as we continuously see more drier seasons and the aquifers getting pressure from the population. These are some of the impacts which from the research that have been seen that, for example, in the Tanzania central and northern drylands, we have only 48 to 55% of the rural households accessing improved drinking water or accessing clean water. We have the dry beds that primarily water resources getting dried and also increasing health risks. Also, water stress is contributing to conflict between farming community and the pastoral communities. In Uganda, over 50% of the people in Karamoja area, they lack access to safe water as well. And it is hard to get the water within 30 minutes of walk. And seasonal water points also have dried up, and we have the high dependence on unprotected sources such as the ponds. In fact, a research that we had undertaken on water situation analysis as VI last year, towards the end of last year, one of the things that was coming out from Uganda is that the water is highly contaminated with some worms, and also some you can actually see the turbidity, the color of the water is quite distorted. So we also have the evidence from research showing that these things are actually happening, especially in the dry areas of the Karamoja and the West Nile. In Kenya, we have only 30 to 40% of the households in the ASAL counties that have access to improved water sources. And also women and girls, especially in Turkana, Marsabit, Wajir, and all those areas up there, are walking between 5 to 10 kilometers or even more to fetch water. And we have also seen the question on the drylands that are the drying of the water sources. That also means that insecurity in those areas. On food, we have up to 30% yield loss in these key dryland crops. We have stunting growth for children between 35 to 40% in areas that are termed as dry areas. And these areas are, I have already mentioned Turkana, Marsabit, West Pokot in Kenya, Karamoja in Uganda, and in Tanzania we have the Manyara, Dodoma, and Singida areas, but also the livestock and the pasture. Livestock is dying, and also pasture is limited. These are part of some just figures to show you how malnutrition, the child malnutrition is. In Kenya, we have 18% nationally, but we have up to 35 to 40% in ASALs. So you can see these areas are quite vulnerable. We also have Uganda, where it's 25% nationally, but 30 to 35% are in Karamoja. In Tanzania, 30% nationally, but it's also high in the central regions. So when we look at why agroforestry, then we know that it builds resilience, and we would want to really amplify this. And what a better way than to just present agroforestry in that picture that we are having on the right, the tree that supplies all the ecosystem services that we require, including pure air, firewood, food, shade for us and for the livestock, as well as for the soil, animal feed, but also improving in the soil health. It also enhances nutrient cycling. So the agroforestry tree is very fundamental in ensuring that the communities, we have one planet that is healthy, one planet that is whole, and one planet where all of us can enjoy clean and healthy environment. So we will get more information on why agroforestry. So this is just to give you a picture of why we want to really amplify our voices towards advocating for agroforestry as a sustainable solution, nature-based solution. And in most cases, it is inexpensive, and it is also affordable to most of the communities. But we also, as a pathway, we also need to have inclusive policies that secure tree and land tenure, but also the question on finance. We have had the climate finance, and communities are asking, where is this climate finance? What is this climate finance? How can we tap into it? And I believe that through agroforestry, and the smallholder farmers and the pastoral communities can access this financing and do something for the climate, but also for their livelihoods. But we are also calling for a regional collaboration, which is very critical for a scale impact. So we are calling to all of us to really work towards ensuring that really this coordination platform for East Africa really works. So thank you so much.